Welcome to the Wells. Today we're here with a segment we like to call Journeys. Journeys is a place where people come to talk about their experience from beginning to end. So sit right there and let us know what you think. Enjoy. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wells, and this is Journeys. How are you doing?
I'm well, thank you.
And could you please introduce yourself?
I'm Dr. Diana Scott, a board-certified obstetrician gynecologist.
Okay. And we're here because we want to learn about your journey to becoming a board-certified gynecologist obstetrician.
Okay. Well, when I was 10 years old, I told my father I wanted to be a nurse. He said, no, shoot higher, be a doctor. You tell the nurse what to do. The reason I was interested in nursing is because my mother was taking a nursing course, and she had, I guess, an anatomy course and brought home a dead cat that was in the refrigerator. Now, most people would find that horrifying. I kind of was like, my initial reaction was like, why is there a cat in the refrigerator? Is this for real? But she said no, it was part of her anatomy class and she would need to dissect it. So several times she took me to the nursing home where she worked and on the ward, and I walked around with the people and just felt a general inclination to say, you know what, I want to help people. So I was like, my mother's going to be a nurse, I'll go into nursing. Then, as I stated, my dad spoke to me and said, shoot higher, and I love nurses. Kudos to nurses, doctors. We work side by side with nurses. We're definitely allies, but just the mere fact of him planting that seed and believing in me and stating it from that day on, I never ever thought that I couldn't be a doctor, because my father, which is your first hero, was like, no, you be a doctor. So from that moment on, when people would say to me, well, what are you going to be when you grow up? I would say, I'm going to be a doctor. There were times when folks would say, oh, that's a lot of schooling, it takes a lot of time. Well, a lot of things take a lot of time, but if it's worth it and you're willing to put in the work and the effort, then you can achieve. He also would tell me the sky is the limit. You know, if you work hard, you can achieve these things. So I basically, at 26 years old, I was a doctor. So when people would say it's a lot of schooling, it's a long journey. At 18, I graduated high school. I went on to college. At 22, I had my bachelor's degree, and at 26, I had my MD. Once you do 4 years of college and you get your bachelor's degree, then you go to medical school, which is 4 years. You finish med school, you're a doctor, even if you don't go beyond that and do a residency. But I chose to do obstetrics and gynecology because I wanted to help women. I wanted to work in a field. I liked medicine, I liked surgery, but I didn't want to just do general medicine. And I just didn't want to do all surgery. So I found that OBGYN was a nice blend of surgery and medicine, where I had a happy part where you deal with women giving birth, pregnancy, you care for the pregnant woman, and then they come back to you for their general gynecological needs. In pregnancy, they have conditions, hypertension, thyroid disease, excuse me, diabetes. So I do get to treat their medical problems when they're in pregnancy, but once they deliver, then they can go back to their generalist, where they can get continued care. So it does give me that opportunity to do that. But backtracking, so at 26, I had my MD, and then I did do a 4-year residency program in OBGYN. Depending on what field of medicine you choose to go into, things like family medicine, internal medicine, pediatrics, it's a 3-year residency. OBGYN is 4, surgery is 5. And then if I were to specialize, I would have had to do a little more schooling, but once I completed my 4-year residency in OBGYN, I just started working because I wanted to do general practice.
So let's talk about maybe earlier. Did you have anyone that said you couldn't be a doctor? Did people try to get in your way and say, you know, that's not for you, do something else?
Yeah. So when I went to Rutgers University, I got my bachelor's degree, a BA in biology. So in my senior year, when it's time for you to go to your advisor to ask for a letter of recommendation to apply to medical school, I was on the Douglas campus. I went to the office, and I would say it was in the fall. I don't know if it was October, maybe November. I went, and the lady, I guess counselor that I if you will, said, it's kind of late. Why don't you take a year, wait to apply next year, and in that time, I think she said, why don't I be a waitress? I was like, what? I'm about to graduate with a bachelor's degree. Why would I be a waitress? Like, you didn't say go work in a research lab. So I left her office and walked back to my dorm, like in my head, like I can't believe, like I was in shock, like I can't believe this woman said this to me. But thank God I had a father who had shared with me a story where when he was a child, my dad was born in 1939, and so he said he wanted to be a lawyer, and the teacher was like, you can't be a lawyer, I guess because he was a black child. So he always told me, don't ever let anyone tell you what you can and cannot be. So I was like, this is my dream. Like, really, is this lady telling me? So I went back to my dorm. I called another campus, another office, and I went to that office. The lady said, come right over, I called the secretary in that office, and I said, listen, this is what occurred. I'm not happy with this. I need this letter because I'm applying now. So she said, can you gather my files, have them ready? I'm going to pick them up and I'm going to go over to the other campus. She said, I will do that. So I went and got my packet. I went to the other campus, and they put together, the man sat down, talked with me, and put together basically a personal letter, a personal statement based on the conversation we had as an individual, and then compiled my academic record, and basically the rest is history. So I say all that to say there will be bumps in the road. There will be people who are naysayers, or even when I would say to people, oh, I want to be a doctor, because their mind is so limited and confined. Oh, well, that takes a long, rather than saying, you know what, that is great, you do it, you go ahead. If somebody comes to me and says, I want to do X, Y, and Z, I'm like, that's great. Like, where are you now in the process, or what are the steps you're taking? I mean, let's, be realistic. But I thank God that basically I had that instilled in me in an early age, and that I didn't just accept no for an answer, because thank God I didn't just listen. How many people's dreams or desires are stifled or stopped because you have someone that's putting up a barrier, because this individual probably didn't believe in me and didn't think that I could do X, Y, and Z. But little did she know there was a plan that was already laid out for my life, and it wasn't up to her to interfere with that. So I went above and beyond what she said, and I'm glad that I did to this day. So then from there, I applied to, maybe when you apply to medical school, I mean, I was willing to go anywhere. So I applied to maybe 10 to 13. You submitted the applications, paid the money. I had 3 interviews, and I got waitlisted. So you go for the interview, you're either accepted or you're not. But I went for 3 interviews, and I got placed on a waiting list at UMDNJ in Newark, New Jersey. And the man that interviewed me, his name is Lonnie. I got a call. He called me and said, you're number 3 on the list. I said, okay. So I called my grandmother. I said, listen, I went for this interview in Newark. They say I'm number 3 on the list. Pray for me. Call the prayer warriors. The man called me back. He's like, you must know someone in high places. You're in. Wow. I was like, I get chills now thinking about it. And all I can say is I went there. I went to a summer program. I did the program. I did well. I did just as well in med school as I did in college, because it was a numbers thing. Like in college, you had the bell curve where they would, based on how well the class did, they would skew it this way or that way, so that if everybody's failing, they would form a bell and you fall somewhere underneath. But basically in medical school, you needed 70 or above. So you needed to get a 70 to get a C to pass, or you weren't. So I did that. The stakes were high. I mean, I used to wake up and say, wow, I'm here. This is really happening. And then went through, completed that. And after the 4 years of medical school, I did the residency. Residency was challenging. At that time, there in the New Jersey, I did my residency in Newark, New Jersey at University Hospital. And we did not have what is called the Bell Commission. So in New York, in the state of New York, you couldn't work more than 24 hours. But in New Jersey, we were still working 36 hours straight. So that's what we did. So I'd work 100 hours a week. Sometimes if you were on, you'd work from say 6:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and then you take night call. Now it has changed. Whereas residents typically don't work more than 24 hours straight. So residency, I would say, is one of the hardest things in my life. I've never been in the military, but listening to individuals who have been in boot camp or maybe through the police academy, it was definitely very challenging. It tries you as a person, because you worked long hours and you had to perform. In the particular class that I was in, it was 3 females and 1 male. So there was a black male, 2 Asian women, and myself. And basically, I think I was the person, because I was a woman and the black woman, that got the short end of the stick, if you will. But again, thankfully, I mean, I was determined. I will get through this. I have to get through this. I did have a foundation, a strong faith in God, and I did what I had to do. So of course, by the end, at the end, they sung my praises, but it was like, but I'm the same person. Obviously, you just maybe didn't see that or feel that. But I went in, I did my 4 years, and got out of there. Took all the tests that I needed to take, as far as you have to, in order to get licensed, you have to take 3 exams. They're called the USMLE, United States Licensing Medical Exam. So it's 3 steps. You take those 3 steps, and then you can get a license. Once you get your license, then after you completed a residency and worked for a while, you compile a case list, you submit it, and then you can become board certified. But that certification requires submitting a case list that has to be accepted, and then you have to go before a board and take a written exam first. But then you go before a committee and take an oral exam in Dallas, Texas. And I did do that, and so that's how I'm board certified. But again, residency, like I said, it was a tough thing. You just have to be willing to work hard. But you only get out what you put in, so it's important to try to get everything out, because once you come out, then it's time for you to go practice medicine. So you want to learn as much as you can learn, absorb everything, be able to, and you have to have a tough skin to be able to take criticism, because that comes with the territory. But I think I got excellent training. So kudos to those in Newark, New Jersey. I have friends who have, once they left there, never stepped foot and said they will never go back. It was that tough. And I don't think they've been back since, but I have been back since. So.
Okay, so now, how long have you been a doctor up until this point?
So I received my MD degree in 1997. So I guess I graduated. So I had I had my 20-year. So it'll be 22 years in May. And I've been practicing I completed my residency, so I've been practicing since 2001. So you're, I guess, 18 years. Don't ask how old I am. But hey, yeah, that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
congratulations.
Thank you.
Awesome. And it's a great story of perseverance and not letting anyone tell you cannot do anything.
Yes.
So your journey was one of success.
Mm-hmm.
Even though, like I said, there's valleys and you fall, but you kept getting up and kept going. So we want to thank you for coming out today and telling us and sharing your journey.
Absolutely.
Thank you.